Hey, well, first of all, I'd like to say, and I is gonna find me, because I want to be a part of this fucking dumb wannabe tennis tour.
You know, I think they got his testicles so far up their mouths that this is bullshit, you know?
I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm just thinking about having won the world title and hopefully trying to win another one someday. You just drop in and just smack the whoop, drop down, say bah! Well, I'll tell you, Stu, I did travel some humongous ways.
Oh, just the paper, please?
Oh, stuff looks good on it.
Not bad.
Ain't that swell with Jed and Vaughn.
Oh, those guys are back!
Get a haircut.
Yes, welcome to Blitzed, pure tour nerdism, proudly brought to you, Vaughn, by our Patreon account. We've had a couple, 11 in fact, proud swellians signing up
Magic.
and dropping $1.25 a week into our account. That's $5 a month.
Yeah.
And I just want to shout
We're on the way, Smithy.
these proud swellians out.
Give him a hell shout, mate.
Jimmy Petite. We've got Mark Joseph Molina, Rambo Estrada.
Oh, Hambo, on your bait.
We've got
Brew.
Daniel Young Whitford. I think is that Bart Wiles, Sam Reese, Dougie Young Whitford, Donna, Micho.
Swelliette.
Yeah, we've got a Swelliette in there.
You beauty.
My old mate Jasper Kelly and Sean McDevitt Electrical all coughing up. And yeah,
On
it's
you,
a
bro.
worthy cause. Chuck a bit of loot in our kitty and you get it back tenfold once we reach the tipping point. It's exciting.
That's it. Yep. Big shout out to the Swellians who are on the Patreon. Core Lords, a lot of ya. And pure froth and gratitude from Smiv and Deadly. Jedly and Deadly. We're going to, we'll turn this into something special. It's just the seedlings in the ground, Smithy. And as we all know, mate, those seedlings, you plant them at the right time of the year, you give them a bit of love. Fuck, you can harvest all sorts of fucking wonderful things out of that.
That's it. If we can get 5,000 to 10,000 subscribers on Patreon, holy shit, that means swellness summits all over the planet.
Yes.
And a massive kick up the coit in the right direction for humanity. So cough up. And $1.25 a week, mate. I'm sure you can come up with that, Swellians, for a good cause.
Magic.
But Vaughn, we're here to
Let's do
discuss the Surf City Pro in El Salvador.
Wow.
And holy smokes.
Fuck, dude.
Didn't see this on the radar. We were sinking the boot into it, claiming it shouldn't be on tour. But, mate, this scored very, very high on the chat rating, a 4.5 out of 5. S for skits, H for hammer, A for are you kidding me, and T for torture. Yeah, so much to like about this event. It's not J-Bay.
What did you give it?
A 4.5 out of 5.
Whoa, that's right up there.
Yeah, I just thought the wave really produced, in that 4 to 6 foot range, glassy, groomed.
Yep.
There was a couple of slow heats, as you'd expect. There was a couple of heats with that onshore, that bump, that ruffle that we also predicted. But by and large, pretty much cooking, and as high performance a point break exhibition as you're ever going to see, particularly in the men's draw.
I loved it. I actually, I didn't get to watch a whole of it in real time, so I was sort of going back, but fuck, the surf looked good. It reminded me of like days when you're a grommet and you just surf all day long, Smithy, and it just, you know how like a bit of onshore ruffle or whatever, you just cop it because it's cooking. I had a day like that just recently in Indo, actually, where I was just struggling to paddle back out the back because you just the lines were kept going. And man, it's really cool, that wave, in some ways, that sort of chase and race thing where you're never quite where you want to be on it. Like the best surfers in the world look like they're still having to come out of turns and really put the foot down. Like their positioning needs to be bang on. For that reason, I gave it a 3.5, which was, I felt, warranted. The point that got taken off was that the women didn't quite sync up with this wave in a way that I was hoping to see, because you put it next to like every other thing we've seen women surf and do this year, and it just missed the mark a little bit. I thought Molly and Katie would just gobble this thing up, and they didn't. They looked a bit out of sorts. It just was almost like just a touch too hard to read. Some nice surfing from the women, but yeah, just a little bit, that side of things just sort of took the edge off how good it was. The men, fuck, dude, I haven't seen that much like cartwheels and backflips in Cirque du Soleil, Smithy. It was fucking on, mate.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a good point. It was hard to read. You know, some of them, they had that kind of speedway at the start to really get up ahead of steam, and then it kind of slowed up a touch and had a big gaff or snap bowl, which could also be used for some big, full rote alley-oops, as we saw with John.
Yeah.
There's a really aerial friendly kind of ramp section in the mix there at a couple of different points along the wave. But as we saw with Ethan Ewing in the round of 16 against McGillivray, like even a point break specialist was having trouble getting the read on it and finding ones that, it must have been hard when you're sitting in that lineup. You're looking at a lot of wall, yet some of them, they were fast at the start and they gave you that big section, but then they wrap too hard or they burger out and flatten out and not really give you the bonus run through the inside. And if you just happen to be on those waves over and over again, you weren't making a heat.
You know what's mad is in the little preview that we did last step, you were saying it's going to be backhand snaps for points and frontside airs. They're the two things we kind of focused on, and the airs went fucking nuts. The judges were just like all over the place for the airs. But the fucking backside snaps, I mean, they were scoring. Like, Connor O'Leary, brah, he did some fucking mean snaps. Arcal looked bullshit in the early round heats. Yago makes it all the way to the final on a mix of, like, both, getting lofty and just fully bashing it and carving out of the lip. So we were kind of bang on for what we thought the judges might like out there. The one thing we got fucking horribly wrong was Italo, mate. Out first round, Smitty.
Yeah, but it's...
Hope we didn't put the mocker on it, but, geez, he came up against a fucking freak, but we'll get to that.
I mean, that was our bum pick, but at the same time, we were predicting a Brazilian goofy footer to do well. It just happened to not be Italo. It was Medina who sent him to that elimination round, and then he just got done up by the Pink Panther, Brian Perez, with the Hail Mary punt to end all Hail Mary punts.
Straighty to the flats, bro. Into the shockwave, too. Next level.
Wild
shit.
But yeah, it seemed to be a pretty backside friendly way. I mean, Brazilian goofy footers have forced their way into the conversation on any right point ever since Medina put Parko to the sword at cooking behind the rock snapper, as controversial as it was.
Bone of contention still on the Gold Coast, mate.
At the same time, you can't deny Medina's surfing in that heat. It was remarkable. It's machine-like, robotic at times, but yeah, just the conviction and power and variety of angles he manages to generate. It's set a new benchmark for backside surfing on point breaks. Italo's from a point break. We expected him to do well, but pressure does crazy things to people.
It does, man. How do you do it? Like, you come off a big win. You've it's the same with John. These guys that haven't won for a while, just breaking that seal, getting back into the winner's circle, feeling it up. You'd think you'd just take that momentum and run with it, and then to just get handed a big old fucking duck egg in your very next event. Oh.
Yeah, Medina just stole his mojo straight off the bat, and that's all it takes sometimes. And then, just got behind the 8-ball against a local favourite, and the El Salvadorians. Wow, they're a passionate bunch, mate.
Love it.
You don't want to be up against the local lord.
But how just fun did the surf look? Like, purely just from a surfing point of view, like, they're the kind of waves that I think most fans of pro surfing, like, it's not beyond anyone, really, who loves to sit down and watch the comps. So... yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, looking at the waves and going, far out, that looks fun. Even in my brain, I was going, fuck, I wouldn't want to be or even pretend to be surfing at that level, but you could fully picture yourself on a little twinny just scooting around seggies and doing little grab rails and all that sort of shit, don't you reckon? It had just that
totally
classic sort of glassy, semi-offshore, semi-cross-shore, just real fun element to it. So
as playful
well played
and rippable and high performance as it gets. And I heard Connor on the broadcast saying that it favoured frontsiders more, but I mean Caroline Marks, that's back-to-back El Salvador pros for her. We had Yago in the final, obviously. Yeah, so I think that the elite have turned right points into a strength backside, and this event kind of vindicated or validated that.
Here's just a hypothetical with no meaning or substance or any fucking real benefit to anyone, Smithy, but how good would it be if that wave was a left instead of a right? Like the exact same setup, just as a left, so that we get to see some fucking open-faced goofs going at it.
Totally.
Front side. We've got bells. We've got fucking Margies, as for all intents and purposes.
That's all right.
Big open-faced right. All these waves, and if that was a left, I feel like it would be almost a perfect addition to the tour. The fact that it's a right, and we've already got these other rights, it's kind of like a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, we'll just head down the coast to Peru and Chile, and
There
they've
we
got
go, man.
tons of them. But I mean, Cloudbreak up next, Brazil next, and then Cloudbreak. But that in that kind of 4 to 6 foot range is
Like
a pretty
rippable right
I
point
remember
would be
Cairns
fucking
going
would be
ballistic
good.
out there on a full day, going all the way to the finals. So yeah, it definitely has a high performance aspect to it.
Just one other thing is this Indo QS season. Just is a full tangent, but like fuck, have you been copping that QE at Nias?
Oh yeah,
And the one at freaking Cruy, like world class waves, fucking cooking out of their mind in the CT window.
It's crazy.
You've got to
that
be
you
looking
don't
at
go
it
there.
going, fuck,
dude,
we could be.
It's madness.
We could be there, bro.
Everybody knows that the best waves on planet Earth are in that 18,000 island archipelago.
And look at
yet we don't have a world tour event there. It's so weird to me.
Yeah.
It must be that insurance thing, right?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
Or just zero money getting injected into it by the local governments because like El Salvador pays for that event, right?
Yeah. Cough up the rupiah.
Come on.
Jocko Widodo or whoever the new,
Yeah.
I think there's a new military dictator in power.
I mean-
Surely he can shake some corporations down and put on a sick surf comp.
Yeah. Come on. Far out. Well, what about the companies that are just spewing plastic into the ocean over there? Just like cough up.
Nestle, I'm looking
Give it a
at
little
you.
bit back. Get
Yeah.
some propaganda films happening on the WSL
it.
ads, and you're home.
That's it. Get Liam O'Brien out there picking up plastic on the reefs. Someone cracking the whip. Put these soft world tour surfers on the hammer and sickle for a bit.
Fucking oath.
Get them picking up plastic.
Yeah. They've done it before. Do it again.
Oh yeah, the coral anal bleach. What was it? The bleaching program in Chopes? I don't know.
I thought the anal bleaching was in Brazil and the coral
that's
bleaching
right.
was in Indo.
Yes, they'll all be queuing up for their annual anal bleach there on the beach at Rio.
Next stop.
What an initiative that is.
Far
Can't
out,
wait
just
for that.
white corn as far as the eye can see. I love it.
Great. Vaughan, best wave, an absolute no-brainer. John's 10. Just used priority on a perfectly tapered wave, flew down the line into a giant full rotation alley-oop, landed it as clean as possible, straight into a signature gouge, followed by 2 massive snaps for a score that could have been 20 out of 10, but instead it was just unanimous 10s across the judging panel. What a wave. What a performance from the toe-haired Hawaiian Wunderkind.
Yeah, the neckbeard was flaring. You couldn't see the veins pulsing underneath it, but they were, Smithy. You could tell under the neckbeard, the veins were pulsing. Jeez, he looked good, didn't he? He looked so good. That wave was pretty much just, what was that, in the semi, I believe?
Yeah.
And he just comes out, and after putting on a fairly dominant display throughout this entire event, you could just tell he had a gut full of fucking 3 finals, 3 second places. This one was his, and that was the big statement moment. The alley-oop, like, will it live amongst the Joycey Wilson and even the John alley-oop from Karamas years ago? Probably not. But in the context of a whole wave just ripped to absolute fucking pieces, yeah, you had to give it a 10. But I want to give a doff of the cap to Yago's that inverted fucking weird upside down indie.
Backside indie,
Indie backside 3,
Right.
just fucking so
Crazy.
sick. And Brian Perez, that fucking meat hack cleaver fest to frontside straighty, just straight into the fucking trough, the whole trough, and nothing but the trough, so help me God. That could have been a 10. Like, I was pretty frothing on how much the judges were just loading up and going, yeah, all right, fuck, we've had our fun in the tube. We've seen the Orbs of Mortal Consequence. Let's fucking send it. And, that was a good one.
Yeah, mate, the Pink Panthers double grab, like that section was huge. It was like a 6-foot cupped out barreling section. Needed a score. He's up against a world champ, a raging favourite, and just sends that thing so high, quick little double grab to stabilise, lands on the roof of the wave, just rides that thing down into the trough, the explosion.
Yeah, we've got a new trough man on our hands.
Oh, we do.
So Perez is just lying there in the fucking cup of the trough, just getting urinated on by the heavens. Well done. And the judges, I should say. Fuck.
Mate, he fully disappears in the explosion. But the thing I loved most about this wave is that he emerges from the foam already claiming.
Yeah.
Like T1000, hands, his palms upwards, facing to the heavens like Jesus. So he's locked into the claim before he's like. I think I actually saw a bit of GoPro footage, and it looked as though he had locked into the claim as he was riding the roof down into the trough. He was already in that Jesus position, so he's gone into the trough like Jesus, come out of the trough like Jesus, and it was just one of the great clutch maneuvers. And mate, the commentators went ballistic, the fans went ballistic. I'm surprised they didn't set fire to the contest scaffolding. The El Salvadorians, they know how to party.
They went mad.
It was probably the biggest sporting achievement for an El Salvadorian since they beat Honduras 3-2 in the 1969 World Cup qualifiers Game 3 that led to the football war and the deaths of thousands of people.
Oh, shit.
So they know how to party, the El Salvadorians,
Well,
and that was a real moment for El Salvadorians.
Yeah, and I may as well just chuck this out here, Smithy. I don't know if you're on the same boat, but it was Perez, the Pink Panther, was my breakthrough performer, just on the back of the fact that it wasn't just the air. Like, the hack that he does leading into that thing is fucking pure meat and potatoes. Like, he'd had fucking ball bags and fly eyes hanging out the sides of it all over the joint. And he, like, got me thinking, is this where we're at in surfing right now, where every fucking local area has a CT quality surfer? Like, Vaheen Fiera just won fucking Chopes. We've seen the wild cards there for years, you know, just run amok and create so much havoc in the race for title points. We had Ellie Harrison at Bells. Like, every single joint has this sort of fucking elite level CT quality surfer who can, on his day, can fucking take down a world champion.
It's a sick concept.
It's madness, isn't it?
Because you're seeing these surfers and they're at home, they've got the read on the lineup.
Yeah.
They're so in sync with the cons. They're always on the sick ones. And they're generally largely unknown to the world. So it's this platform to springboard their career and their profile. And the Pink Panther has won legions of fans.
For sure.
Not just in El Salvador, but all over the planet with that performance.
Fuck, unbelievable. And so easy to get behind, hey, like the local hero who's fucking got nothing really to show for his whole toil and lifetime commitment to surfing and his home break, that other than a bit of sunburn, bit of ball rash, bit of fucking trough spray. And sick to get behind that. Loved it.
Just on Yago's performance, he had the 933 for that big backside Indy, and then the 977 in the final to put John under the pump at the death there, almost snatch victory. Just a series of savage snaps and whips in the bowl, all perfectly timed with sublime style.
Best heat? Was that your best heat?
And then sticks that off-axis air reverse on the bricks.
Yeah.
And he thought it was a 10 Yago. He suggested as much to the judges, coming just under 977. It was in the mix for best heat. An absolute cracker. Let's get into the best heats.
Go for it.
That was basically my best heat.
Yeah, I had that too.
John got off to a flyer. As he'd done, that was his MO. He was in such incredible form that, you know, as long as he got on a wave early, he just went to work clubbing him, even if it was like a couple of turns and an inconsequential wave in the end of the heat. He just wanted to keep that rhythm and flow going, and every single turn he ripped off was flawless, savage, clinical John. That's what he did.
He ripped his dick off, mate. He was just fully going at it so hard. I mean, every turn just had so much sting. He kind of like put the big rail hacks just in the back pocket and just relied on these really vicious snaps.
That snap is an unbelievable turn. He comes so deep off the bottom and almost starts the turn a touch early. Like it's almost a hack and snap mixed together. He hacks the top off the wave, like just literally cleaves it, and then grinds the coping, like fins out, grinds the coping with perfect control. Just it's a hack, a snap, and a click turn all in once, and it's signature. No one else on tour has that.
Isn't that funny, man? Because like when I think about sort of like where were the women going wrong on this wave, it's like they didn't adjust to tight pockets surfing. there was a lot of turns where they had heaps of speed. They come out and with that wobble, you know, that ridge that was moving through the face and stuff, like they just bog if they tried to do an open-faced carve. Like it just wasn't working. Whereas if you take a leaf out of John's book, that turn that you're talking about, that full scalping into a board slide, that's the way to go. You're not really having to engage or pull your board through a big chunky lump of fucking ridge that's coming up against you or moving down away from you.
Yeah, and we did see one turn like that in the women's event, which was actually, probably the best or second best turn we've seen this year. That was Katie Simmers in the semi. It was like, you know, more of a Taj Burrow related grinding of the coping finner to kind of lip pivot in the John version. But I thought we should touch on that. We kind of skipped over it with the best wave because that turn was amazing. And in the context of the heat, which, now that we're in the best heat, that was also one of my best heats. Katie Simmers versus, who was it in the semi? She got done, Gabriella
Bryan,
needed a 6'8". Gets that wave right on the buzzer, a speed snap, a speed float, and then just hoiks that thing. So electric and technical and futuristic. And they don't give her the score. Needed a 6'8", comes in at a 6'3" for pretty much the turn of the year so far, apart from Molly's sunset clobbering. And I'm not here to argue with the score necessarily. I mean, the two turns leading up to that were completely inconsequential. She spent the whole first half of the wave racing it and not doing a turn. But, I can also understand how there'd be certain sections. The Californian surf community pretty up in arms. They had a rough go of it at this event, the Californians.
They really did. And, Katie's a funny one, man. Like, I think we were talking about it last ep. We were, in the lead up to this. I was going, gosh, she can look tiny when you compare her to a Gabriella Bryan.
Absolutely.
Like she doesn't have the meat, she doesn't have the power, and it's weird. In the Bells final, the judges were eating up that like tail release and that really fast surfing, and JoJo in that Bells final was doing some pretty mean hacks, like big pocket bowl hacks. Judges just weren't eating it, and on this time they didn't want to reward the high performance surfing, which they had literally been on the back of all comp. Trippy.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know, like fucking it's you know, it's the funny thing about Katie is that she is just so, like these events where she misses out on sort of going to another final, they don't really seem to have the same sort of degree of stress about them that, say, Molly's year is starting to have, where she looks like she's in a little bit of trouble trying to find form. Katie's sort of like losing heats, and it just doesn't look that. It's not factoring into sort of her bigger picture in a way, which is evidenced by turns like that. You can only do that if you're feeling loose and free and fucking psyched, right?
Yeah, it was such a contrast to styles. Gabriella Bryan, she had that kind of vertical lip attack dialed, you know, at times emulating John. I thought, you know, a couple of Hawaiians, they just had that power to meet the power of the wave and the bend in the wave, and just that kind of conviction in the vertical attack of a couple of savage hacks, and she clearly overpowered Katie in that heat. And I think ultimately the judges just didn't want to give Katie the win in that heat, despite what happened on that last wave. It probably, I don't know, it seemed to be the score. But on balance, Gabriella Bryan won that heat. And they gave it to her.
There you go.
But back to the men's, Vaughn.
Yeah.
The men's final. John got off to a flyer. He destroyed the coping with that snap before winding up and launching one of those huge aerial reverses, air reverses, where he covers so much distance laterally, like they're full power punts. I think it was one of the commentators made a really good point that when you see as much spray come off the board as he launches, you have a really good idea of how hard he's hit the section. And they don't have the pop and height necessarily, but the distance covered laterally gives him such a wild look on the broadcast, doesn't it?
Crazy. I actually was noticing there was two really different types of those frontside air revs. They weren't quite full rotators, but, you know, there was a lot of like little fin drift air revs, and then there was ones like John's, Jack Robbo did one early in the event. They're like just big, punchy power turns. And the way that the tail hucks out when you hit it that hard, like you've got to be you got to have the most flawless technique to make that stick in a really like non-grabby way, you know? Like
Yeah,
it's
you're
got
gonna-
to, if you want to grease it, you better fucking grease it properly because like those power turns famously can just keep you stuck in the whitewash when you land if you like fuck up just even the slightest angle. That was what was most impressive to me. Like he wasn't just bashing it and getting height and length as like you're talking about. He was like fucking riding out of him, just ready to go.
You're landing with serious G-force.
Yeah.
Like you are flying through the air and have to grab basically to stick it clean and have any control when it comes to the landing because you're slapping hard. Remarkable turn. That got an 8.5. That was straight off the bat. And then shortly after, applied another flurry of hacks, snaps, and a cute little end section air reverse of that kind of, just popping the fins out, kind of a half rotation, then whipping it around. That was on an insider for 7.83, and that gave him a massive lead of 16.33 to a 1.3 for Yago. And it was time for Yago to feel some pressure in that men's final. He's just been throwing the heat around willy-nilly, putting everyone on the Bunsen burner. But now it was Yago's turn, and it showed, hey, pressure's just, it's crazy at this level because not only does it affect a surfer's performance, it affects their ability to sync up with the conditions. They're immediately locked up in thought as opposed to that intuitive space where you kind of free of thought and just focused on the present. Because Yago, he launches a super ambitious air reverse down by over 16 points. The board flips in the air. He lands on his fins. And I'm just thinking, oh, my God, like this guy could have just had a fin right through the rib cage or something super gnarly. Gets lucky, snaps the fin out.
He could have snapped the calamari.
Oh,
The fucking corn calamari could have copped a full-blown Gandhi.
yeah.
The
That's
perineum,
right.
the aperture would have been widened significantly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He couldn't have got to Rio quick enough for a corn bleaching had he suffered one of them. He would have been on the next flight, an emergency flight, straight into Saquarema.
Right.
And
You're
they
so
would just had
right,
him
though.
strapped face down on the gurney,
Yeah.
spreading his cheese.
Yeah.
Give me a look at that, Yago. Hold still. It's just a local MSC.
What do you do if your octopus ring goes? What happens there? Like, I know it's a bad scene. You need, because that muscle's one of the strongest in the whole body, you know, cutting through some pretty thick aggro stuff. Maybe not in El Salvador, actually. Maybe that's a safe place to...
It's true. Maybe that's where you have to relocate. Just you post up at Punta Roca indefinitely and just spray the bowl at the waves, spray the bowl at the local dunny, and
That's
you're
it.
good
Just
to go.
laps from the shoreline to the ocean, and the only thing getting greasy is the rocks as your incontinence just sprays them every time
That's
you
it.
take a step.
Tuck your colostomy bag into your camel pack, and away you go.
Yeah.
But,
No, well, lucky for him,
yeah.
The octopus ring is intact.
That's right. And not only was it intact, he changed the board, and on the very next wave, dropped that 977 for just the most venomous array of backhand whips. His coiled up backhand snap to whip to crack is as good as it gets, isn't it? When he's on, he is the best surfer in the world or close to it.
What
The
about-
creativity and spontaneity of the man.
What is
Magical.
What is the go with his first half of the year? Like just scraping in, you know, like by the skin of his teeth to make the cut. And then all of a sudden he's just found this like little slipstream of form. He's taken down Jackie Robbo in consecutive events now. Stablemate. He's just looking so good. It's like Machado with wings and a little bit more tail flare, you know. He's just that cool to watch. There's definitely like a different pace to his surfing, even though I'm sure in real time he's fanging down the line and going that mad. But yeah, on the screen, he just looks so buttery, hey? Like he's just cruising, man.
So smooth.
What a cruiser, bro.
Smooth and vicious at the same time. It's beautiful surfing, and it calls to mind, in my mind, all the great Brazilian traditions of body movement, the Ginga, Capoeira, the Brazilian football teams of the noughties.
Zumba.
Just a mix of acrobatics, dance, and above all, just rhythm and tempo. It's amazing surfing, amazing to watch. And yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that when your mojo's not flowing at this level, you're just a shadow of your former self. He was awful for the first half of the year after almost cracking the final 5 last year. Confidence is just this, what do they say? It's just this grift that you rub on yourself. Like it's not something you can depend on.
Nah.
But yet you kind of do at the same time. You're a shell without it. I don't really know how in the...
Mate, if you did know, you'd be getting paid millions and you'd be on tour. You'd be Micro Hall, mate. That's who you'd be. You would be like, one of those guys going like Tony Robbins, doing speaking tours, getting everyone up and about, sort of manufacturing that confidence, maybe. But who knows where it is or what it is or where it comes from. It just feels like you get on a good run, you start feeling good, and if you've done the work especially, you can really tap into it. But I don't know. Where does it come from, mate?
I mean, you hear Callum Robson
day-to-day
talk
thing
about it, and he was saying, like, training is what gives him confidence, doing all the work. And he reckoned, this was when he was on his hot streak, that confidence doesn't actually factor so much into surfing. He tries to surf without it or make it irrelevant because he knows how temperamental it is. And, it was working for him, but obviously he's been cut. So, mate... I don't know. It's such a freaking hard one.
Well, look at Taylor Knox, dude. He was saying, if I do the work, he went the other way. He was going, I manufacture confidence by being as fit and as fucking healthy and as working as hard as I can, because then when I'm in these situations, I know that I've done the work, I'm not thinking about it. But actually it worked against him. He fucking wore himself out. Wild shit, man.
It's
like,
so
how do you find the balance? Like, it's just, it's something that, I have no idea about, mate. Day-to-day life is a battle, Smithy. Some days I'm on, some days I'm off, bruh.
Back to that men's final. That 977 set up such an interesting last few minutes. It left Yago needing only a 6.56 to take the win, which he could get in his sleep out there. And he scoured the lineup and just couldn't find any wave of consequence. And, I mean, that just goes to show, like, at that level... You get your opportunity, and if you blow it, you're probably not getting another one against John. And he had it. He overcooked the air, landed on his fin. That was his wave. And he didn't. Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, it didn't give him the second opportunity, and that felt right to me.
Well, there's another little element at play here, and that's that John, instead of fucking stressing out about Yago only needing mid-6, started to turn the screw. He got into the game. He started sitting on him and paddling around him and just getting in his face a bit, which we don't see John do very often. But it's almost like he's just so fucking sick of losing finals, man, that he just went, nah. It was like it was his call to say, no chance, not today, fucking. Back in your box, Yago. I thought that was a really positive sign from JJF, actually, Smithy, to get into the bit of the grind, especially towards the end of a heat, because, the finals that come to mind that he's lost, the Jack Robbo ones at Margaret's, where Jack Robbo just put 2 scores on him in 3 seconds. His decision-making went out the window. His fucking heat strategy looked shot to pieces. His energy in the lineup just looked stressed, Not this time, mate. Good stuff.
And shout out to the women's final, too. That was another seesawing affair. Brian, she had the right strategy, the right idea, and that was just to get her feet in the wax and open up the way she'd been doing all event long with that psycho frontside hack attack and vertical clubbing. But like so many competitors in this event, she just couldn't find a wave that had enough scoring opportunity on it. I think she still managed a 7 on her opening ride. That was Marks that got the 7 on her opening ride. So, Gabby took the first wave, absolutely gaffed one mega turn, but, just couldn't find a follow-up section.
Yep.
Marks got the 7, continued to stranglehold with a 7.4. And then it kind of came down to this last little flurry where Marks backed her 7.4 up with another 7.4. But while that score was waiting to drop, Gabby got a wave, and it was kind of a frothy one. She carved through the chop to jam a super critical snap into a falling lip, straight into a cutback, and a final closeout hit on the foam for a 7.53, the highest wave of that final. So she had the lead theoretically while that score was waiting to drop at the 7.4 dropped, and left her just needing I think it was something in the 6 range towards the end of the final.
Pretty crazy, man. Like, Caroline, you wouldn't say she's had a great year, but at the same time, she's just had this really measured year. You know, she just doesn't. She's just inhabited the world champion sort of mantle with such ease. I thought that I was just so curious to see. You know, first time world champs in the past, barring the freaks. Backing up can be so hard to do. You know, like and I thought that without the wins coming, Caroline might start to just get stressed out, but it just seems like her and Louis have just got a really good, even sort of approach to the year. It's a long game approach. And I'm sure she would have been stoked to get a few more wins, but getting it now is not bad timing. Like we saw that she basically started her world title run last year in the last few events leading into it. So, yeah, I feel like she's really dangerous. Like I think, second in the world now? So she's so well placed to defend her title. And I think the goofy thing at Trestles is still a huge advantage.
Oh, yeah. Any dependable, rippable right, she is by far and away the best surfer in the world in those kinds of conditions.
Well, she can add a level of power that no one else can match. That's literally the secret to her having that really, like, scary fucking world title energy, defending world champ, but gaining momentum into the last couple of events of the season. Olympics coming up. Pretty sick year that she's putting together.
Yeah, her backhand surfing is as consistent as clockwork. It's like a pendulum. I was loving those deep bottom turns, but also the way she can, just do those micro adjustments without compromising any speed or power and just tag it right in the spot every time from wave one to the 50th wave of the event when she won the final. She never skipped a beat. Her backhand just is so razor sharp, so powerful, so technically perfect, and just peerless. I mean, it's the greatest backside attack in the history of women's surfing, isn't it?
Marksy, brah. She's got it going on, Smithy. Pretty sick performance, and congrats to the great Louis.
Biggest meltdown, well, it's either going to Griffin Colapinto or the judging panel. One of the two. It's hard. For that interference call in the round of 16 against Zhao Chianca, I'm still struggling to make up my mind on this one, but I'm leaning towards giving the melt to the judges for chucking that interference at Griffin. One thing I hate in sport is cynical gamesmanship when it gets rewarded and when a spectacle gets ruined. I just think like referees, judges, they should all lean towards the spectacle, making this just applying some common sense to ensure the spectacle unfolds. Like I'm not saying that, it's not their job to ensure that a contest, an equal contest plays out. Like if someone clearly transgresses, then they should be docked. And, they should get the interference. But in this situation, it was such a 50-50 call that, in situations like that, especially when someone's clearly playing for the interference, as Zhao was, like there's no question about that, they should favour the person who's not being cynical in that situation. They should favour the spectacle. And, so I'm going to have to give the melt to the judges on that one.
Yeah, far out, mate. I mean, Griff had a 9.43 or something in that heat. He had a huge score. He was, like, looking to build back into his year after a couple of pretty shitty results. And, what a fucking letdown. But, all right, I'll just devil's advocate this. To get gamed, you've got to put yourself in a position to get gamed. Like, you're number one in the world. You fucking surf that good. Do you really need to be in the hustle that hard at that particular moment with that score under your belt? I don't know. I don't agree with the judges so much, but I don't also think that Griff is completely not, leaving this heat without going, fuck, what do I do here? Like, I can't remember the actual context of when that went down and how it went
happened
down,
at the very start of the heat. So there was no scores yet. There was priority hadn't been established yet.
Right, okay.
So it was just that battle for the first set of the day.
Oh, well, there you go. Spectacle fucked.
Fucked it.
Bent over a barrel and fucking another octopus ring goes snap.
But the point you make is a very valid one, is that, you're up against a Brazilian surfer. They're known for bringing this kind of gamesmanship into events. We've seen it many times. The Medina Cayo heat at the Pipe Masters, where his dad's whistled him into shore.
Yep.
We saw, I mean, I can remember seeing Medina push down a section on Slater's head at snapper while he's in the tube. Didn't get the mate, cost Slater that heat.
It's been going on forever.
They're masters of the art.
Like, Adriano de Souza paddled fucking CJ Hobgood from... Like, there was heats at restaurants. He paddled him to Cloudbreak, mate. That's how fucking far up the reef he paddled him. CJ's coming in going, I just want to surf. Let me surf. And Adriano's like, fuck you, bro. I'll fucking win however I want to win. So, yeah, you got to have your head screwed on when you're paddling out against these crew because they'll fucking do whatever it takes, man.
Yeah, and I interviewed CJ about that incident, and he made the point that, like, you know, you don't bring a slingshot to a gunfight. Like, when you're up against the Brazilians, you got to know that this is the strategy that they bring to the table. And I'm not against it. Like, I like gamesmanship. I like jostling for the inside. I like a bit of argy-bargy, just not at the expense of the spectacle. The judges really had an opportunity to be lenient. They could have just given Joao priority in that situation and not thrown the triangle at Griffin, and that was the call. That was the call all day. But I hate to point this out. The head judge is Brazilian. The WSL commissioner in that event, Ronaldo Hickel, is Brazilian. And I'm not saying that they favoured a Brazilian outcome in that heat. What I am saying is that is the Brazilian method of competing. They don't see that as strange or cynical. That's just like, you know, they come from a culture where football or soccer is the dominant sport. And that kind of gamesmanship is it happens 1,000 times a game. Yeah. It's part of the sporting culture in that country. It isn't in our country. It isn't in America, where we just want to see people surf and enjoy the conditions.
Well, guess what, Smithy? It happened in the Origin the other night. The whole game was fucked in the first 3 minutes, mate, and I'm rapeable about it. Different sport, but anyway, same deal. Like, you know, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just fucking make a call, get on with the job. It was a bummer because, you know, everyone wants to see Griff get back on the horse after a bit of a slow run through, you know, Australia and the Pacific.
Yeah. And Joao, you know, he was transparent after the heat. He said, I knew I would have to play tough against Griff. He's one of the best. Such a bummer that the interference happened so early. But when that happened, the first thing I thought is don't hate the player, hate the game. So he's completely milked the system. And he's got the win. And, you know, he got the win of a pretty meat and potatoes performance, a couple of mid-sevens for a 14. And as you said, Griff, I think he got one of his scores halved, his backup score halved or something like that. And so he needed a 10 and a 9 or a combined total of 18 or something like that. And he nearly got it, a 9-4-3, and then was left searching for a backup 9 at the back half. And I'm pretty sure from memory he got a pretty crazy one, but again, just the wave flattened out.
Yeah, no, and he's left an Instagram post just sort of saying, fuck, it was actually a really good heat. Like, I enjoyed it, but it was like, we put together such good surfing. But I guess also pressure, you know, you're fighting with everything you got after a situation like that. You're either going to go fucking completely mad or just melt into a puddle. He went mad.
Biggest surprise, look, mate, my biggest surprise is that Punta Roca fired. I mean, the forecast was looking solid, but a little bit sus. So we got kind of led a bit astray by Surfline. It was claiming, a solid pulse at the start of the waiting period with a lot of wind on it. But it turns out that wind didn't really arrive. So, I guess that's classic equatorial kind of stuff, isn't it? Where, you just wake up and check the winds and the waves every day. It was firing, dude. It was, we talked about at the top of the program, but I just loved how much bend there was in it and how many different interpretations there were on this canvas. It also made me realize that when it comes to right points and this kind of modern age of surfing, mate, you need to have a world-class aerial attack. And if you don't, you're a long shot of really contending for a title. And I look at Ethan Ewing and his performance in this event, lost in the round of 16 to Matty McGilvray. Couldn't get a read on the lineup, but also Matty, another point break specialist from J-Bay, he also has the capacity for insane punts. And at that elite creme de la creme level of tour, there is such a difference between those who, they can do the snaps, the carves, they can surf down the line, but then they also have this world-class punt game, and that was the difference.
Oh, man, you're dead right. And that's why my biggest surprise was just how fucked Aussies went in this comp. Like, I was going, man, we should have had at least a couple of quarterfinalists, a semi-finalist in the women and quarters at least in the men, you know, like, or a few getting up into the finals. Because we were talking about Lobby. Fuck, it was like everyone's surfing out of their skin, but that was a contest just sitting there ready to be grabbed by the fucking throat by Aussies because they fucking surf points better than anyone. They can get over slippery rocks better than any cunt. They can fucking... Basically, they're surfing boardies. Like, it couldn't be more friendly and more like home. And everyone just kind of got fucking done up by, you know, by big airs, really, in a lot of occasions, man. And
that's the heavy thing is that at that level, we're just not really world class in the air.
Well, what's the go though? Lobby's bullshit in the air. Like, I fucking
no, it's not really. It's not like he's like got the punts, but we're talking about you're up against Yago and John and Medina,
and
it's another level.
Yeah,
and you see it clearly at the pointy end of these heats and the pointy end of the tour. That we're just not at that level. There's a clear difference between those consistent contenders and your Arcows, your O'Leary's Bras, your Lobs, and I hate to say it, you know, your Ewings.
Yeah.
As good as his rail game is, his aerial game is not at that level. Jackie Robbo, he can match it at times.
I think Arcow can as well. Like, it's just surprising that he doesn't go to it a little more often. He just sort of banks on the power.
Thing, though, isn't it?
It is. He's like... Arcow's free surfing edits are fucking chock full of world class airs.
Absolutely,
man. Like
they all are. Like, don't get me wrong, but in the Jersey in a 35 to 30 minute window, it's a very different scenario.
The judges had they couldn't have been more clear about what sort of surfing they wanted. You know what I mean? Like everyone who did big airs got fucking big scores. Like, it was that simple.
But they also had to be fitted into a flowing repertoire.
Yeah.
Like, generally, like the one hitters are out. Apart from that super tech. India reverse of Yago's, generally it needs to be part of an ensemble of manoeuvres.
Yeah. Well, the big surprise, the other big surprise, which I was thinking about chucking him in melts, but I didn't. Not yet, Smivvy. But Molly Picklum has just got to find the fucking mongrel. She's got to just get home, just eat nothing but Vegemite on sausages for the next fucking 2 weeks or whenever the next comp kicks in. Because her form and her surfing just looked way off in this one, man. It just wasn't there. And this would have been an event where she could have actually fucking lifted that trophy had she been surfing with the same sort of like determination and fury that she had at Sunset. It just doesn't seem like it's there. Like, even like odd waves in between the fight, you can kind of see it. Like, she's trying to tap into it, but it's really not flowing into her body mechanics and the way that she's attacking waves. So... don't know what's going on, but definitely needs to just simplify, I think, and just get back to sort of like almost just having the attitude of pure attack. Tack dog, mongrel, foaming at the mouth, ready to just fucking chew into whoever steps foot in the yard kind of shit, because it all just looks a little bit too thinky at the moment.
There's definitely a glitch in the central nervous system. Maybe she's got to come up here to Mullum, do a bit of energy healing, a bit of Reiki, something like that. To
Shroud of John, mate.
Yeah,
bit of perception
get into
change.
the cave. You know, she's on the same team as the goats.
Yeah,
maybe take Pickle down to the lair.
Mm-hmm.
Give her some of that Amazonian brew and just let her shart her guts out.
And get rid of it all. Purge Pickle.
Purge Pickle. Because she hasn't put an event together in 4 months. You know, the Sunset Comp was in February. It's been, what do we got here? 2 9ths and 3 5ths. So she's got to break into that semi-final bracket. Get a bit of belief
Like,
back.
quarters are just, they're not good enough in women's surfing. And, like, if you look at the rankings, it's crazy, man. Like, I'm pretty sure Tyler's coming 9th and she's got a 2nd. Like, she came 2nd in Portugal or somewhere. Oh, a Sunset maybe. So, like, you're looking at it going, anyone can jump up into that 5. And if you're kind of sitting at, I would say, 3, 4, 5 in the women's right now, you're feeling a bit eggy because, like, you know, Gabriella Bryan, she's had 2 finals this year, a win and a 2nd. So they're all right there, man. And the Pickle really needs to just find that missing ingredient, get the fire back, get kindling on the fire, a bit of diesel, and just fire it up, mate. Because maybe the Olympics, maybe there's one eye on that sort of distraction as well. Who knows?
Best performance, John Florence has to be. He's unlocked some of the best form of his career this season. 4 finals so far, and now a win. But yeah, just the snap, the hacks, the alley-oops, those psycho power punts. Mate, it's as good as you'll see from the Hawaiian 2-time world champ.
This wave is not a fucking great distance from lower trestles in shape, size, power. Like the whole thing just sort of like really has given John the fuel that he needs to go into a finals day at trestles to just fucking blitz it. But man, it's scary to think, Smivvy, that in the old way, the old methodology of crowning world champs, he's 10,000 points ahead of the next best guy.
It's
Jack
madness.
Robbo, bro.
It's wild. He's already qualified for the final 5. We've still got 2 events to go and an Olympics.
Insane. And like,
Lapping the field.
Wild to think that, that sort of surfing in that sort of surf is the biggest, like it couldn't have come at a better time. I was saying like maybe he'll have a Parko year, remember that last episode or whatever, and just thinking maybe he'll just get the final 5 and get it. But he's so ready for business, eh?
What do you reckon? Do you reckon
Suit on, tie done up, briefcase at the ready, full of fucking woof after a big stop in El South. Allegedly.
He's a clean
Who
skin.
knows?
He's just had a kid, I think.
Yeah.
But does he skip the anal bleaching at Rio and just head straight to cloud break? Does he need to really set foot in the Bondi cigar-riddled lineups of Brazil and cop a bad case of dysentery? Or can he just fast forward?
Steve Shearer said in one of, I think in his SwellNet report, John's biggest enemy is his body. So the big danger about Rio is him feeling fucking on top of the world, throwing out some sort of Hail Mary on a big closeout and fucking just creasing himself.
Backflip to MCL
That was the one, right? It was Brazil.
It
So
was.
there's going to be a little bit of PTSD there, Smithy. Maybe he should head down to the ayahuasca basement, smelly Slater's house and fucking get on the brew.
In the women's, Caroline Marks, untouchable from start to finish.
Agreed. Talked about it already. Another one who will take that as like the perfect platform for a run at trestles. I mean, both those surfers winning that event is pretty scary for the rest of the field.
Breakthrough performance, the Pink Panther, Brian Perez, as mentioned at the top of the program, but also a shout out to Maddie McGilvray, second semi-final finish this year at Bells. He had one, and just blowing minds with his raw, spontaneous slice and dice and punt game. He's a magician, just a raw talent, unpredictable. He applied a ton of pressure to Ethan Ewing in round of 16, brought him undone, and got the better of Geordie Smith in the quarters. A couple of point break specialists going blow for blow, but there's just something that it's unpredictable, but because of that unpredictability, there's also some lacking consistency in Matty's approach.
Fair call.
He surprises me every time he surfs. He just manages to huck and stick the most unlikely aerials from the most unlikely angles. I think the 7-9 to open that Ewing heat was just such an ugly closeout section, just launched into the flats, off axis, sideways, just dug it out of the fire.
I feel like the
Clean out of it.
thing that separates him from a lot of other surfers is just lack of head noise. I reckon he's just genuinely fearless. Like he'll hit any section that he can. He'll throw himself over the ledge of whatever. And when he's got like a John or a Gabby, where you see a lot of other crew sort of go, fuck, okay, this is a big heat. I don't think he feels like that or thinks like that. So every single thing that could potentially sort of get into his head and start fucking with his performance just doesn't happen. The inconsistency, not 100% sure where that comes from. Maybe that's just a thing that he has with himself, where if he's on, he knows he's on, and if he's off, he's just fucking way off. But yeah, he's definitely got a sense of fearlessness that works to his advantage for sure.
Give him a canvas like this where there's the opportunity to rip off crazy calves and do some psycho punts, and he's always going to figure in the final standings, I feel like. I mean, we saw how world-class his punt game is, the consistency of it. I think there was one wave, he stuck 3 reverses on the same wave. The 8-5 against Ewing was so nuts. That was a pressure wave too, because Ewing got one on the buzzer just before him. And, Ewing needed a pretty gettable score. And McGilvray's on the next one, just hucks the craziest air rev, sticks it so clean, he almost ends up in the pit. A world-class punt game mixed with rail savagery. That is the formula.
And loves the cone, loves the orb, loves the fucking juice.
Yeah, it's just when the conditions don't really favour his versatility. It seems he comes a bit unstuck at times, but I mean,
True.
got a massive
Mate,
result
I
goals to.
wouldn't be surprised to see him win a CT in his career for sure. Because like, it's like when you've got that ability to just not be ruffled, you can really cut your way deep into draws. What we've seen a couple of times this year.
It's just the psychological component, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as calm as he is, he's not really got the star power and the consistency to pull off his best surfing all of the time like those top guys. But when he's on, he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Similar to Yago Dora in that respect. What does it all mean, Vaughn? Means John's locked for trestles, and it means also that the Aussies are actually still holding strong in that final 5. Jack moved up a spot to 2nd following Griffin's round of 16 loss. Ethan stays at 4th. And guess who's in 5th, Vaughn? The white chocolate.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
hang on. Lean, mean, Geordie Machine is he's sitting at 5th. Far out, man. Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. I'd like to see him have a run, but the scary thing, I think, in particular for Ethan and Geordie, is who's in 6, 7, and 8. Like,
the Brazilians are coming, mate.
They
They're
are
kicking the door
coming
down.
hard, dude.
Yeah, 3 of the scariest names to ever see in a heat draw.
And look at them, right? They've got the hometown advantage coming up in Rio, and then straight to a piping long, drainy fucking reef.
Fully.
Like, dude. And all 3 of them have game at Cloudbreak. So it's a, you know, as much as Geordie and Ethan are no slouches out there, that's a terrifying thing to have those 3 coming around the corner into the straight when you've got like a narrow lead.
Mate, Medina is on an absolute tear. He's moved up 17 spots in the rankings in the last 2 events. Rockets up a further 6 places after his finish here into 6th in the world. I think it's Italo beneath him and Yago beneath that. So, yeah, scary times. And like you said, Vaughn, you'd expect them to do very well at these next 2 events. You'd think one of those 3 surfers is going to win Rio or final at the very least. And, I mean, Italo's just won Chopes. Cloudbreak is just a more high-performance version of that Pacific slab. It's exciting, man.
What a year, eh?
Oh, it's great. These next 2 events are must-watch in the context of who qualifies for the final 5. And, yeah, it's such a compelling matchup, you know, looking at those names up against your Ewings, your Jackie Robbos, your Griffins, and your Geordies. It's just going to be an all-out slugfest.
Fuck, it's a great year for pro surfing.
Be
It's
ready for
been
the
really, really
gamesmanship,
good.
Vaughn.
Here we go. Oh,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
I will not be one bit surprised, Smithy, if there's some judging horror show in Brazil or fucking Cloudies that fully just detonates the whole tour. But we'll see. In the women's side of things, though, you know, who's in first? Katie still?
Katie, after Breeze's quarterfinal, she leapfrogs in the first.
That's right. So, and then I believe Caroline in second, Breezer in third.
Breezer in third, yeah. The Pickle is sliding. She's in 4th, drops a spot. And Joanne DeFay in 5th. But, yeah, I was interested in the 2 Hawaiians coming up in 6th and 7th. More so Gabriella Bryan than Betty Lou. I just think that, she's just got such a powerful lead-footed approach that when she hits a mark, when she gets the kind of conditions that favour her, no one really holds a candle to her in the power stakes on tour. And she's had a win already this year. Where was that at? I think it was at Margs, and now a runner-up at El Salvador. So she's one more big result from you know, rocketing up into that final 5 conversation.
Nervous times for the Pickle, Smithy, but I've got lots of faith in the little Sunny Coast hard woman. She'll get it done. She'll be back, mate.
She's a beach break specialist.
Yeah.
You know, most Australians are. That's pretty bread and butter.
We'll throw an air rev in this
100%.
comp, like guaranteed. She'll start. I think she'll go into pretty much nothing to lose mode with these next 2 events coming up. She has to.
Give her a roping left slab, and she's going to do well there. I'm sure she's done a couple of reps at Cloudbreak over the years. It's just on our doorstep. So, yeah, she's still got it in her, Vaughn. Come on, the Pickle.
Come on, the Pickle.
Get on the shaman juice.
And just on the women's, just again reiterating that, like, one good result for the women in 9th and 10th, which is, you know, that's above the cut line. can rocket them into the top 5 without even thinking about it. So it's fucking hilarious how clusterfucked it is. But yeah, sick year, man. I'm really enjoying it. And it's the first time I've looked forward to Brazil in a fair while because it's going to be really interesting to see what goes down with the top 5 and then the next 5 after them.
Mate, you would hate to be up against one of those hometown heroes in front of a parochial crowd like that. It's going to be deafening, proper stadium atmosphere.
Any word that Felipe might be getting a wild card or maybe just showing up and blowing up in one event?
Ooh, jeez. I mean, at this point of the season, I would hope not because it's just a narrative that has the opportunity to really spoil someone's title run. And yeah, it's salivating enough, this prospect.
It is.
And fuck, I just hope they got the security apparatus sorted for the Aussies when they get there to Rio. And I hope Jackie Robbo's brushed up on his Portuguese. Hope Julia's schooling him. So he can don the Brazilian flag over there, Jack.
Yeah.
Try to curry a little bit of support wherever you can get it.
I feel like he'll be
hostile.
adopted. He'll be adopted over there. I'm a little bit more worried about your Ethans and your lobbies and the crew who could just really get a bit of mongrel on and fucking completely T-bone the hopes of the Brazilian crowds. That could be scary.
They got to summon a bit of Gosford Grug energy, a bit of Wade Carmichael grit.
Get over there, brah!
That famous runner-up where it was just him and his backpack and a backup board and his headphones on just in the contest site. So just get a bit of that grit going, bit of green and gold, grit, Vaughan.
Yep, a bit of Evoker Jesus, Cross the Redeemer up on the hill, just tapping in. That's what we want to see from the Aussies. Bounce back, you good things. Come on!